I quit my job 2.5 years ago to become a full-time content creator. And recently I've seen a huge rise in creators who have done the same thing, but also creators who have done the reverse. They've quit their job and then they've gone back to their 9 to 5. I figured now was as good a time as any to talk about my experience of quitting my job to become a full-time creator. Do I have any regrets? Are there some things that I would have done differently? Definitely. A lot of the things that I'm going to talk about in today's video, I don't hear people talk about a lot. So I figured it was my duty to talk about it with you guys. Let's just dive right in. Okay, so this first thing, right? The way I wish that I watched a video where someone spoke about this before I actually quit my job, oh my God, it would have made such a difference. And it's basically the importance of having a hero channel. So what I'm referring to is having that one social media channel that is your hero channel. It is your main channel. It is your baby. It is the thing that will consistently receive majority of your effort. Having a hero channel is super important because when you have one, it usually does majority of the heavy lifting for you when it comes to the rest of your personal brand or business. So let's take my YouTube channel as an example. If you haven't guessed already, YouTube is very much my hero channel. This channel is my pride and joy when it comes to my social media presence. If there's ever a point in life where things get really busy, like I've just come out of a season where things were so busy that I had to actually ignore a lot of my other social media channels. And during that time, I knew that whilst other social channels may not be getting the attention that they deserved, my YouTube channel would not be one of them. It is my hero channel. It always receives my attention and my love. I'm speaking about it like it's a baby, but it's because it's such an integral part of my business. I gain around 5,000 subscribers every single month on this channel, which means this YouTube channel is responsible for about 70% of my monthly audience growth. Most of you guys watching this video right now, you found me through YouTube. It is single-handedly driving majority of my audience growth and helping me reach more people. It's also the channel for me, which I use to inform the rest of my content. Because I create long-form videos like this, in one video, there are several different opportunities for me to create shorter pieces of content that I can share across my other channels. So it works really well for me when it comes to repurposing. Now, this doesn't mean that YouTube has to be your hero channel. You just want to pick a channel that you genuinely love creating content on, because once you do that, you'll find it so much easier to consistently give that channel majority of your effort. When you're giving a social media channel majority of your effort and your time and your love, and you're genuinely enjoying showing up on that channel, you will end up seeing the results. It will end up becoming the channel that is driving majority of your growth for you or your engagement, and you'll end up having this lovely relationship with it where you love creating on it and it loves giving you results too. When times get hard and you need to take a step back from social media, having one channel that you genuinely enjoy creating content on and that you know you can rely on to get results is going to be incredibly useful for you, and it will massively help your journey. And it definitely helped mine once I quit my job. So I'm really fortunate in the fact that I feel like I knew this thing before I quit my job, but I don't think a lot of other creators know about this. This fear that a lot of us have when it comes to showing up online. You know, when you feel awkward sharing that post, or when you make the decision that you're going to try and become an influencer or a creator and you start to share different content and you get worried that your friends and family are going to see and they're going to find it really cringy. It's like this fear that we have to be seen trying. Like that's really what the fear is. If you don't get to the root of that fear and you really figure out what that core belief that you have, which is triggering that fear, if you don't figure out what that is, it will never go away. I think a lot of us believe that when we get to a certain milestone, that fear will just vanish and that milestone will continuously change. So at first we'll be like, once I have 1,000 followers, I won't be scared to show up anymore. I won't find this embarrassing. Like all of this will become so much easier. And then you reach 1,000 followers and then the milestone is 10,000 and then it's 100,000. And even when you get to a point where you have more people in your audience than you would have ever imagined, which is currently the point that I feel like I'm in, that fear still doesn't go away. I still have that fear to this day. There is so much more that I could be doing with my social media channels. I like to think my YouTube I'm doing pretty well on, but my other channels, there's so much more that I could be doing. More on that later. But a big reason why I've not been doing that stuff is because I still have these core beliefs which are preventing me from showing up online. Let me give you an example of a core belief that I had in the early days. Luckily, I've worked through this one, but I remember when I first started my channel, I felt so much resistance to sharing my first few YouTube videos because I was telling myself that I didn't have enough experience to talk about the world of marketing. Please keep in mind that by this point, I'd worked in marketing for 8 years. I had a degree in marketing, but I was telling myself that I needed to work in marketing for 20 years and like I needed all these other things. And it was all a load of crap. I was just making stuff up so that I could stay in my comfort zone and continue playing small. And I genuinely believe that you have some core beliefs which are holding you back in a similar way. If that is the case, the things that helped me was to really define what that core belief was. And you've got to do some like inward reflection in order to get to that point, to really critique why I felt that way, and also to identify any triggers that I had. So for me, especially in the early days, I did not want to watch anyone's content, which was similar to mine. I find it quite triggering. And honestly, sometimes I still find it triggering because it makes me feel like I should be doing more, right? That's the feeling that it triggers within me. So therefore, I avoided all that content and still to this day avoid a lot of that content now. And it really helps me manage that core belief and continuously show up online. But I still have work to do in that area. Like that never really goes away. A huge lesson I learned within weeks of going full time, like this lesson slapped me in the face. This was a big one, was how much you would learn about yourself once you started working for yourself full time. Like once you lost the security net of having someone else dictate your schedule, someone else lead the way for where your company vision is going to be, having other people that you can ask questions to, who you can moan to, who you can vent to. Like once you lose that security blanket, you will learn so much about yourself. It will really bring to light your flaws as an entrepreneur or as a worker. And it will also highlight any negative relationships you have with work. Like it is going to massively amplify them. For example, I have a creator friend who went full time about 2 years ago, and she still to this day massively struggles with actually using her time to work. Like her biggest challenge is that she has so much freedom in regards to how much she works that she just ends up not working much at all. I am the complete opposite. When I started working for myself full time, I realized that I have a really bad relationship with work. And actually, I'm more inclined to overwork myself than to underwork myself. It might sound like a good problem to have, and I think in some ways, maybe it is, but from like a mental health perspective, it's not a good problem to have. Suddenly I realized that my entire life, where I've been working extra hours, working weekends, I've always blamed the company that I worked for. Like I was always like, oh my God, yeah, my job is so manic. Like, oh, they don't let me have a second of rest. It's their fault, blah, blah, blah. And then I started working for myself and I was like, wait.
Wait a minute.
I am doing more hours than I ever did when I worked for someone else. I am the problem. I am the problem. It has never been anyone else's problems. I feel like I owe people apologies. Like it has never been any company that I work for. It's never been their problem. It's always been me. I overdo it and I push myself too hard. And if you're like that, you're going to find it incredibly difficult to get work-life balance because your work is now your passion and you can actually see a direct result from you putting more time and effort into your business. And once you start to experience that dopamine hit of working 7 days a week and then making more money as a result, it is a slippery slope. It's hard to drag yourself back from that. So that was a huge personal lesson that I'm still very much learning. All right, this next lesson is a big one because it's about money. I think I was very, very lucky in my first year of business because I went full time in the summer of 2021 and you guys will remember what was still happening in the world around that time. So genuinely all creators were experiencing a lot of growth. If you were in my niche, you're probably experiencing a lot of sales of digital products and stuff because a lot of people were at home, people were consuming more content and also people were open to learning new skills. So I really was in this amazing season where when I quit my job, I immediately started to earn more money and that money continuously went up and up and up. Honestly, for 2 years, it just kind of went up and that was amazing. Now, what I have seen though in other creators who are quitting their jobs now, especially the ones who are now going back to the 9-to-5 work life, is that things are different. And it's more important now than ever to have a good runway for your business. Because remember guys, if you're earning money through your content, you're running a business, right? And having a runway from my perspective includes having two things. One is having 6 months worth of savings saved up. I think when I quit, I had 3 months and that was enough. But if I was doing it now, I would want to have 6 months. And in my opinion, a runway also includes having 6 months of confirmed income. So you want to have a long-term brand partnership that you know you're going to have for the next 6 months. Or maybe you have a reoccurring revenue stream, like a membership, for example, and you know roughly how much money you're going to earn from that every single month for at least 6 months. Or maybe you've got your earnings from creator funds or partner programs like on YouTube. I would exercise caution with that though. If you're going to be relying on a creator fund like TikTok's one or on YouTube's partner program, you want to have at least 2 that you're earning money from at the same time because they fluctuate so much. So when you have 2, it reduces your risk. So you want to have a good idea of how much money you're going to earn from that from the next 6 months as well, and taking into account things like seasonality and the fact that your views might drop and all of that good stuff. 6 months to me is now the minimum. That's what you want because it gives you the comfort to go full time without fear. If you go full time too soon and you don't have that runway in place, you will end end up making decisions out of scarcity. You'll get 3 months down the line where maybe you've already dipped into your savings and maybe you're not sure where your money for the next month is going to come from. And you're going to start to accept brand deals that you don't actually want just simply because you need the money. You're going to start to create products that are rushed that you don't really believe in simply because you need to make the money. And you're going to start to make poor decisions because you're operating from a place of scarcity. And that is the worst place that you want to be running your business from. So yeah, 6 months runway, 100%. I genuinely think I got lucky with mine. So 6 months, I think, from now on. This next thing is really close to my heart because I feel like it's something I've only truly learned within the last year. And I've been full-time for 2.5 years now. And that is the gravity of picking the right niche and just how much that's going to affect your future. I don't think you have to niche, guys. I have a whole video on it. I'm trying to think if it will be live. I think it will be live by the time that this goes up. So if it is, I'll link to it. But I have a whole video on this. You don't need to niche. But if you do niche, because there are benefits to niching, usually people who niche do experience faster growth and sometimes you can find it easier to build a business around it. I picked a niche, which is creator marketing specifically. I was always going to pick this niche. This is what I worked in for 8 years. This is what I studied. Like, I've been in this world since I was like 18. Like, this was always going to be the thing that I wanted to talk about. It's the thing that I'm most passionate about. It's also the thing that I'm most knowledgeable about. It just made sense to me. What I did not realize at the time of me picking this niche is that whilst my relationship with the niche may not change, whilst I might not get bored of creating this content, everyone else's relationship with your niche might change. And I don't think many people are talking about that. When I first started talking about creator marketing, it was incredibly underpopulated in terms of people talking about this, to the point where when I first started, the main reason I wanted to start was because I very rarely saw other creators who looked like me, being a Black woman, and who sounded like me, being from England. Like, there really wasn't much representation in that place. And I'm so grateful that that's changed, right? But when I started, I could literally name every other person who was talking about similar subjects to me. I can name them on like 1, maybe 2 hands, and I'd be done. That would be everyone. Like, there really wasn't many of us. Also, when I first started, my niche, I feel like, was seen as quite commendable. It was this thing where I was like, I'm just creating this free content which helps people like reach their goals and grow their businesses. Like, who could hate that, right? I've grown to learn that a lot of people can hate that. And as the industry has grown and become incredibly populated, I'm not going to say overpopulated. I don't believe in things being overpopulated. There's enough room for all of us. There are billions of people in this world, right? But it is significantly more populated. There are a lot of people talking about this subject now, which is great. But as that's happened, people's feelings towards it have also changed. In part because there's been a few bad eggs, as there always is, unfortunately, especially in an industry like mine, which is largely unregulated. There are a few bad eggs who have scammed people and just left this really bad taste in people's mouths. That's another one of those phrases that I don't really like, but here we are using it. It's left a bad taste in people's mouths. And also, as it's gained in popularity, like, people have just become a bit sick of it, and that's totally fair.
Sick of it.
It is worth saying that I'm talking about a minority of people. Like, there are still a huge group of people who find so much value in this content. I'm guessing you're one of them. Love that about you. But it's worth flagging that the niche that you choose, whilst you may never fall out of love with it, like, other people will. There was actually a TikTok that I watched recently of a creator talking about how she fell off as like an OG creator. And the reason why she fell off was because her content was directed at like tweens. You know, like are tweens like, they're like 13. That's like roughly their age, right? Her content was directed at tweens and it was all about like back to school stuff. And I don't know if you've noticed, but that niche isn't very popular anymore. And that creator was primarily on YouTube. And a lot of the people she was speaking to have grown up. So they've grown out of that content. And then the new tweens are actually mostly on TikTok. So naturally, she loved her niche. She loved creating content for tweens, but everyone else's relationship with her niche changed and she ended up losing a lot of engagement and falling off as a creator. So don't panic. Like, this is where the evolution conversation comes in. This is when people talk about pivoting their content. Don't worry, I'm always going to talk about creator marketing. I might just talk about it in different ways in the future, but yeah, that was a huge lesson. Last but certainly not least, I have learned over the past 2.5 years the importance of being able to ride the wave, because there will be times, at least once a year, if not multiple times a year, where every single one of your social media channels will be in a flop era. There will also be a time where you'll make less money than you normally make, and that might last a few months. There will be a time where you fall out of love with your content. That will happen. Even if you love the niche and you love creating, there will come a time where you'll just be sick of it. Like, it's gonna happen.
I'm sick of it.
Learning how to ride that wave and also not making that dip mean more than what it does is one of the most important skills that you can have as a creator, whether you're full-time or not. I see so many creators give up on their journey because they're going through a flop era without realizing that if they rode the wave, they would go straight back up and maybe even achieve more than what they were achieving before. I've seen creators switch niches because they think they hate their niche when actually they just needed a break from their niche. Like, they were just burnt out with their niche. Learning how to ride that wave has been such a hard lesson for me, but my God, am I grateful that I learned it. What are some things you want to know about becoming a full-time content creator? Can you let me know in the comments so that I can use it for inspo for my future videos? If you feel like hanging around today, I do recommend that you watch this video. It's all about the easiest way for you to create a strategy for your social media channels. By the way, guys, can you believe that I've been on YouTube for like 3 years now and I still don't know which way to point when I'm directing you to another video? Will I ever learn? Probably not. Thank you so much for watching this video. As always, I can't wait to see you in the next one.